Hi there, I wanted to do a demo of the Exakta EXA Ia camera, which is an analog camera from the late 60s that I got as a gift for Christmas. Here we go. Well, the camera came in a case like this, and it was never used. It sat in its own box from the time it was purchased until the time it was sold to this shop in Mexico, and where it was picked up by my friend, and it was never used. So it's a pretty unique camera. The camera itself looks like this. This is it. And this is the back, the bottom, the top with the prism right here. As you can see, it's an Exakta EXA Ia, as I said before, and the lens is an original lens, and it's quite a beautiful thing. So let me get to it. So here's the lens, as I had promised. This is the lens cap, of course. You can take it right off, and there's the lens release. And so I'm going to take off the lens just to show you how nice it works. And this is really annoying. Yeah, this is the lens. It's the original. Let's read it. It's an original Carl Zeiss Jenna lens that came with the camera, and it's got it goes from an f-stop of 2.8 to 22, which is really amazing for a lens this small. It can focus from as little as 0.6 meters to infinity, so that's pretty cool. And this, of course, is the camera body without the lens, and there's the lens release right there, the latch. This is the film advancement lever, and you simply pull it. It has a pretty short travel when I compare it to my other analog camera, which is a Minolta Himatic 9. Also, you'll find right here on the same hub this black serrated wheel that you can pull to adjust the ISO of the film, and you can see now how it changes. And actually, let me get it back to 200. There we go. And you can also adjust the number of exposures for the particular film that you've got loaded in there by simply rotating this little gear right here. And so you hear how that clicks? You can very simply rotate the number of to get the number of exposures. 36 is the maximum, and then once you've got it set in place, it counts down to 0. So it works quite nicely. Now, if you were to look at the camera, where do you think the shutter button is actually located, right? They're normally located on the right side, right here. And so you'd think that this might be the shutter button, where you'd be wrong. That's actually the rewind release. So the shutter button is the one right here. It's quite amazing. You actually push against the camera to release the shutter. I actually think that's kind of cool because it reduces camera shake. You're not pushing the camera up and down when you press on the button. So it works quite nicely. It's certainly something I hadn't seen before, but it's nice. Now for the shutter speed control. Even though this camera came with everything that I needed, including even extra color filters and an instruction book, the instruction book was in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. So I had to guess my way around the controls, and for the first roll of film that I took with this camera, I did not adjust the shutter speed, and most of them came out blurry, but finally figured it out. It's the one over here. This is the shutter speed control. Well, actually, this is a film rewind lever. You pull it up and you rewind on it, but it's this bottom wheel right here that adjusts the shutter speed. Now, this does not have a hot shoe. Although cameras by the time this was made had hot shoes, like my Minolta, which is made around the same time, has a hot shoe, but this one doesn't. It only has the flash sync connection right there, you see. And so, you need one of those old-fashioned flashes or speed lights that connects to this kind of a connection, and that way it'll start it. Now, the camera itself needs no battery. It's completely manual. It has nothing automatic on it. Now, the camera also has this nifty little shutter button lock, and so when you turn it and you see the red dot, you can't press the shutter button. Let me talk about the prism, because the prism is really cool. On this camera, and I understand on other Exaktas as well, the prism is interchangeable. So this is right here. This is the normal prism that you look through like this. But you can pull this one out. Here, let me show you. You have to be careful because you don't want to ruin it. So you can pull it out like this. It simply pulls right out, but you have to be careful that you don't scratch this lens right here. And you can replace it with a prism that you look through vertically, like those really old cameras like the Hasselblads. So that's really cool. Let me show you. I have the other one right here. At first look, it's very similar, but once you put it on, it's quite different. So let me stick it on. I have to be careful again. Here, let me show you while I'm putting it on. It's quite easy. You slide it right in, and then you press it to lock it. And then to open it, you click on this little black release right here, and it opens. And then you actually look through it like this. Can you see? All right, so it's like this. It's quite cool, but you have to be aware of it, of the way it moves, because of course it's reflecting through a mirror to show you this. And let me actually show you what I mean. Is if I were to look through this and I wanted to move to the left, I'd have to move to the right. It's a bit strange, but you have to move in the opposite direction that you want to see in order to move correctly. It's reflected. So but it is pretty cool. I mean, it's something else to gives you something to do, to play with the camera. I'm sure some people back when they made these cameras preferred those kinds of prisms, viewfinders, so that's why they made them. Care to guess what this is? It's not an additional lens. It's simply an extra barrel for the lens, and it's a barrel that dismantles in 3 pieces nonetheless, and so you can vary the barrel length. What's this good for? Macro shots, of course. So what you do is, let me show you, is you take the camera, all right, and you take off the existing lens. Ooh, there we go. And then you attach this one. Let's attach it. Now once you've attached the barrel to the camera, you attach the lens onto it. So let's do that. And it clips right on. Look how long it is now. And so what you do with this is you take macro shots, and it can get you amazingly close. And by amazingly close, I mean this close. And the depth of field is really tiny with this. And so what that means is that only what's that close to the lens is in focus. And you can get some really interesting macro shots of objects. Flowers, of course. So you can blur everything out but the flower. And it's quite amazing. So, and of course you can vary this, the length of this. So you can take this segment off and just have that, and that way you can have more depth of field. And you can also bring more of that object into focus. So that's really nice. Yeah. The camera also came with this nifty little timer. It's an analog timer. And so what you do is you screw this onto the shutter release, and you set the number of seconds you want it to go, and when they expire, it pushes the timer. So let me show you how it works. It's really cool. It's pretty nice. You just basically, here, let me get it in front of the camera here. So you rotate it up to 10 seconds. It goes. Actually, does it go more than 10 seconds? It does. It goes even beyond 15. My goodness. And then you turn it on. So you press this down. Do you hear that? It's working. And so what it does is when it gets close to the expiration time, this thing will pop out. Look, it's coming up. There it was. It just pushed the shutter release. So it's quite nice. It screws into the shutter release right here, and so you have to kind of screw it on, and then you use it. And of course it's hanging out like a sore thumb. Look, it's hanging out like that. but it works, so you can't argue with the results, right? So there's one last thing I want to show, which is how to load film into the camera. Well, first you have to get the camera back off, and so what you do is you look to the bottom, and you have to align the red dots. You see two red dots right here? There's one here and one there. So you turn this to get them aligned, and then you can simply slide the whole camera back right off. And then you load the film in. So let me do that. Well, the film loads in quite easily. It actually slides in between a little clamp right there that keeps it in place. And so I'm going to put the camera back right on. And once it's on, I simply lock it, and then I advance the film. So I'm going to just advance it a couple of exposures to note that it's good. And of course I have the lens cap on, and I'm not going to expose it inadvertently. So once that's done, I have to set the ISO. And so again, I'm going to rotate this little black wheel right here to 200, because this was 200 film. And the last thing I want to do is to adjust the number of exposures for the film, which in this case is 36. So I'm going to rotate that to 36. Oh, I think I went to 35 by mistake. No, it's okay. Quickly adjusted. Perfect. 36. So let's put it to use, shall we? Here, let's see what we got. Aperture 2.8 and focusing at minimum 0.6 meters. Shutter speed, we could go for about 30 frames per second here. So let's crank the lever and put it to use, shall we? Some fine adjusting. Perfect. Perfect. There you have it.